Welcome back to medi-date. Let's pick up where we left off. If you missed our last conversation about boundaries and what they are, check it out here and subscribe so you can join our future conversations. Boundaries not only protect our time and energy, but they also help to protect our relationships. They make us examine our own limits and challenge us to communicate more directly, which helps to prevent miscommunications, misunderstandings, and built-up resentment as well as other uncomfortable feelings. Boundaries have to do with self-control and drawing limits for yourself and others. It's about living in balance. Here are 8 common types of boundaries we would want to set. Understanding each type can help us clarify what boundaries we already have in place and the specific boundaries that we may need to set.
1. Mental boundaries. Mental or intellectual boundaries affirm that you have the freedom to have your own thoughts and opinions. It is the ability to stay focused on thoughts that will manifest into self-growth and development. It is about identifying what positive and negative thoughts you entertain, and being able to control and address your own thoughts and practice self-control. Noting the difference between negative thoughts and positive toxicity, understanding that both positive and negative thoughts directly affect our own health accordingly, and they also manifest in our aura and behaviors. Mental boundaries involve how we communicate with others, how we respond to others when they don't respect our ideas, and knowing when it is a good time to discuss something with someone. Setting mental boundaries means not subjecting yourself to someone who belittles or dismisses you for disagreeing with them. It means being able to safely agree to disagree when you have conflicting views with someone. It means being able to end unproductive conversation and respecting other people's intelligence and perspective. Here are some questions we can ask ourselves to explore and set mental boundaries. What behaviors do others display that make me feel that my ideas are being dismissed or belittled? What healthy measures will I take to care for myself if I feel belittled? How will I communicate that my ideas aren't being respected? What does it mean to me to respect the ideas and perspectives of others? How will I show others that I respect their ideas and perspectives even if I disagree with them? Am I able to have friendly debates? How do I feel about heated debates? Do I want a conversation to turn from heated to a conflict? What will signify to me that it's time to walk away from a discussion? How will I communicate when it's time for me to remove myself from a conversation?
2. Spiritual boundaries. Spiritual boundaries affirm that you have the freedom to believe in what you want and practice your own spiritual beliefs. While parents raise their children based on their own beliefs, and children are taught to follow their own parents' beliefs, as I'm sure many of you can relate, children eventually formulate their own beliefs based on the teachings they have received and their own experiences. As children grow into adults, depending on whether they are a part of an open or closed society, they might not dare to entertain their own beliefs, or they may suppress them altogether. On the other hand, they also might follow their own beliefs and choose not to follow the crowd. Of course, there are consequences for both paths. Having spiritual boundaries means respecting other people's beliefs, especially the ones that you don't agree with. It also means not subjecting yourself to beliefs and practices that you don't agree with. Once again, it's about practicing self-control, not imposing your beliefs on anyone, and not allowing anyone to impose their beliefs on you. This is easier to do with members of society, but not so easy to do with family members. Do you feel trapped? Or are you a free bird? Share your experiences, leave a comment. Moreover, having spiritual boundaries means respecting that someone takes a moment to say a prayer before they eat, even if you don't believe in that. Or not going to religious services with your family, because you don't share their same beliefs. Setting spiritual boundaries is about searching within yourself, being authentic to who you are, and pursuing peace. It is also about understanding that your energy is sacred and of high value. It is about protecting and not wasting your energy.
3. Emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries affirm your freedom to have your own feelings and to not have your feelings criticized or invalidated. Emotional boundaries also allow us to create emotional safety by respecting each other's feelings, whether we think they are valid or not. On the other hand, emotional boundaries are about defining what valid and invalid feelings are. Knowing that just because we feel a certain way, it doesn't mean we are right to feel that way, and it doesn't mean that it is healthy to feel that way. It is important to know that our definitions of valid and invalid feelings are based on our beliefs and experiences in a big way. This is why it is salient to regularly examine our beliefs and modify them as needed. Like thoughts, it is potent to know that both positive and negative feelings have a strong impact on our physical health. In fact, our perspectives, experiences, and thoughts trigger our emotions. Emotions trigger the secretion of hormones into our bloodstream. Hormones help to control many body functions, such as growth, repair, and reproduction. Having balanced hormones is healthy, while an imbalance in hormones causes health issues. Defining what valid and invalid feelings means to us is also important in order to establish close, healthy relationships. It is vital to know if who we care about will regard our feelings or disregard them if we enter into intimate relations with them. Emotional boundaries are about being responsible for your own feelings, differentiating your feelings from other people's feelings, so you're accountable for your own feelings, but not responsible for other people's feelings. You can only be responsible for your own actions that impact others. Emotional boundaries require understanding your emotional bandwidth and how much you can give to others. It is about deciding when to share your energy and when to take time to yourself, and deciding your capacity for listening and supporting others. Like asking to postpone a conversation if your emotional capacity is too low, or asking if someone is able or in a good place mentally or physically to listen or help you before emotionally dumping all of your problems on them. Emotional boundaries are also about personal information you are willing to share, not oversharing personal information that's inappropriate for the nature or level of closeness in the relationship. For example, regulating the amount of personal information you share with your coworkers, saying something like, "I don't feel comfortable discussing this." Questions to help you explore your emotional boundaries could be: who will I turn to when I need to discuss something personal? Who am I not comfortable sharing personal things with? How will I make space to process my own emotions, so that when I share, I'm not just dumping problems onto someone else? What types of things am I not comfortable sharing with friends, family, etc.?
4. Physical boundaries. Physical boundaries are boundaries you set regarding your body, your touch, your space, what you eat and drink, and when you're active and resting. Physical boundaries protect your space and body, your right to not be touched, to have privacy, and to meet your physical needs. A physical boundary clearly defines that your body and personal space belong to you. Physical boundaries are your comfort with physical proximity, sexuality, and commonly shared space. They tell others how close they can get to you, what kind of physical touch is welcome, how much privacy you need, and how to behave in your personal space. It is important to note that physical boundaries between genders, adults, and children vary from one culture to another. Nevertheless, every individual deserves their own space and has the right to protect their physical body. A person's boundaries indicate what they need, what they are or are not comfortable with, and how they want to be treated. Questions you can ask yourself to explore your physical boundaries include: how would I like to be touched by others? Do I want hugs, handshakes, high fives, or no touch at all? Who am I comfortable being touched by? Friends, partners, family, co-workers? Am I comfortable with people coming into my bedroom, or is that space just for me? Are there foods or drinks I won't have, such as alcoholic beverages? How will I prioritize the time I need to rest?
5. Sexual boundaries. Before discussing what sexual boundaries are, it is vital to begin by saying that sexual boundaries is a sensitive topic and it is defined differently from one culture to another. Each country has different laws and traditions that govern sexual matters. With the rise of internet use, globalism, and the need to speak English as a global language, Predominantly Western sex educators have been working hard all over the internet in recent years to address the importance of sexual boundaries, particularly online. These include things like consent, establishing communication patterns, setting rules about safety, and more. Since sex is a sensitive topic, many parents worldwide struggle with educating their children about sexual matters. Nevertheless, sex education is vital in any given society. It is important to learn about our bodies, our sexuality, our reproductive system and how it functions, puberty, hormones, contraceptives, safe sex, sexually transmitted diseases, and more. It is necessary to teach school children about what a good and a bad touch is. Children need to be taught to be aware of and protect their surroundings. Whether growing up in an open or closed society, as children grow, develop, and begin to interact and have experiences with the society around them, they need to have a safe adult figure that they can feel comfortable to talk to and get their questions answered about sexual matters. Maintaining healthy sexual boundaries requires that parents understand that creating a wall between them and their children when it comes to discussing sexual matters is actually dangerous and can cause their children to become perfect subjects to sex abuse. Subscribe and follow us to learn more. Sexual boundaries aren't just for singles. Just because two people are married, this doesn't mean that they shouldn't have sexual boundaries. Sexual boundaries also mean that each partner should respect their own body as well as their partner's body. It is about expressing one's own sexual needs as well as respecting their partner's sexual needs, and being able to openly and comfortably discuss any sexual needs or limitations. From a Western paradigm, sexual boundaries protect your right to consent, to ask for what you like sexually, and to learn honestly about your partner's sexual history. They define what kind of sexual touch and intimacy you want, how often, when, where, and with whom. Questions to ask yourself to help you explore and communicate your sexual boundaries can be things like, how do I communicate consent verbally? And how do I communicate it non-verbally? What types of sexual intimacy am I comfortable with? What about my partner? How do I express my cultural traditions regarding sexual matters with someone I want to be intimate with? How do I discuss sexual orientation matters with partners? What are my limits regarding sexual safety? Will I use contraception? If so, what kinds? Do I prefer going with my partner to get tested for sexually transmitted diseases? How will I manage sexually transmitted diseases in safety? Is there anything else you'd like to add regarding the sexual boundaries topic? Leave a comment.
6. Time and energy boundaries. While different cultures operate differently when it comes to time and energy, ultimately, setting time and energy boundaries is about understanding the value of your time and energy, and determining how to prioritize and spend them. Setting time and energy boundaries means recognizing how you're spending your time, and setting limits to protect your energy. It's even about knowing what elements you intake that drain your energy, what foods give you energy, and controlling what you intake. Time and energy boundaries protect you from agreeing to do things you can't or don't want to do, wasting your own time, allowing people to waste your time, being overworked, and more. Can you add anything else? Leave a comment. It is about recognizing when you have overcommit yourself and canceling plans or delegating tasks to others. Setting time and energy boundaries means not attending an event on the weekend because you care to do something else. This is about respectfully saying no and rejecting offers and invitations that you are unable to participate in, and on the other hand, respecting and confidently accepting rejections from others. Understanding that rejection isn't a negative response. Subscribe and follow us to learn more. It is also important to set aside specific blocks of time or dates when you are unavailable. This is not only a practice for singles, but it is especially important for couples, parents, and family members. Questions you can ask yourself to explore time and energy boundaries can be: what do I need to live in balance? What are my priorities? How much time would I like to reserve just for myself every day or week to maintain my balance? If someone asks you to collaborate or work together professionally, what do you charge for your time and efforts? How will you decide what extra projects to devote time to?
7. Material boundaries. These are boundaries regarding managing your financial and material possessions. Setting financial and material boundaries is about deciding what we give to ourselves and what we are willing to share and give to others from our own resources. Financial boundaries is about budgeting, saving, spending, investing, and managing our resources healthily. It is also about clarifying who can use our belongings, when, how often, and so on. When speaking of material and financial boundaries, we must acknowledge that different cultures operate based on different paradigms. While some cultures operate based on individuality and independence, other cultures put less emphasis on the individual, more emphasis on the family, and rely more on dependence. Both paradigms have their strengths and weaknesses. It is important to take good care of yourself before you can take care of someone else. At the same time, we need others to lean on and get support from, just to give us a push or when things aren't going well for us. In all, we don't want to be selfish, greedy, nor lazy, irresponsible, or too dependent on others. While everyone must carry their own financial responsibility, it is healthy to carry each other's burdens when necessary and possible. We must also address our moments of financially unhealthy status and discover how not to repeat the same situation. So, setting material and financial boundaries is about identifying your own needs and goals and using your resources to fulfill them. Furthermore, not feeling guilty for not helping others when you can't, understanding that taking care of yourself is just another way to take care of your loved ones. You may feel selfish, but by taking care of your own financial needs now, you're actually reducing the burdens your family has to take on later. There are healthy ways to communicate financial boundaries with others so no one is left with negative feelings such as resentment, entitlement, or abandonment. As we all know, it is easier to set boundaries with friends than with family. Material boundaries are passed down generationally. We must ask ourselves if we want to carry on with the same boundaries that were passed on to us, or would we like to modify and enhance them in some ways. It is salient to know that unhealthy boundaries directly affect our physical health. At the very least, they cause us to live under stress, and we all know how stress affects our health adversely. Questions you can use to explore your material boundaries can be: what can I afford to share? What am I willing to share? How will I share what I have? Who will I share with? What will I not share? How will I communicate my boundaries with others?
8. Non-negotiable boundaries. Non-negotiable boundaries are deal breakers. They are aspects that you must have in your relationships in order to feel safe. Non-negotiable boundaries are usually related to safety matters such as finances, business agreements, violence, abuse, substance abuse, fidelity, serious health issues, and more. For instance, it is like saying, "Mom, my kids can't come to your house unless you install a fence around the pool," or telling your intimate partner, "We will have to break up if you cheat on me." We must wisely decide what our non-negotiable boundaries are, because once we set those boundaries, we must be able to enforce them, otherwise they lose their meaning and effect. It is important to note that people often test each other's boundaries, whether consciously or unconsciously. When we don't enforce our boundaries, it sends a non-verbal message to others that we are not serious about our boundaries. While some will respect our boundaries anyway, others who see that we don't enforce our boundaries will use these opportunities to take advantage of us. This instantly welcomes negative energy into our relationships. As negative energy builds up, it causes conflict, division, setbacks, and of course health issues. Now that we have discussed the different types of boundaries, let's remember that setting boundaries keeps us safe. Boundaries are the foundation of healthy relationships. Clear boundaries throughout our lives are pivotal in defining our relationships with ourselves, with our health, and with others. Our lives and social encounters become healthier and more balanced when clear boundaries are established. Although setting boundaries can be challenging for most people, knowing these limits for ourselves and enforcing them paves the way towards holistic wellness, rather than allowing toxic habits or one-sided relationships to thrive. Teaching children to understand and set boundaries from an early age makes this process easy to practice for the rest of their lives. Often adults struggle with improving their boundaries because it might be dangerous to do so, or they may have a lot to lose if they set new boundaries. Follow us to learn how to face the giants in your life. So it is important to carefully count the cost, speak to mentors you can trust, get guidance, and never give up on following your dreams because you have the power. It's never too late to learn how to set healthy boundaries. Every moment is a chance at a new beginning and a new opportunity to upgrade our well-being. We hope you gain more insight into the status of your own boundaries and gained clarity about the boundaries that you want to maintain or need to set.